Hello, I'm Persolaise and welcome to episode 9 of Love at First Scent. I think we should begin by smelling a perfume, and the very first one I'm going to go for is this rather large box here. I've actually had it for a little while, I think over a week, but I've been doing everything I possibly can to stop myself from opening it because I wanted to share it with you live here on Facebook. And thankfully I know very little about it. I've managed to not read anything about it online, so I can genuinely come to it completely fresh, with no preconceptions. Well, apart from the preconceptions that I can't ditch, because I know the brand. Right, let's show you who it is. It's Mugler, and it also, what is particularly exciting is that it is from Mugler's exclusive range, which they call Les Exceptions, or the exceptions. They first emerged, I'll just start unwrapping this and hopefully the noise won't be too distracting on the microphone. These scents first emerged a few years ago. They were made jointly by Olivier Polge and Jean-Christophe Hérault. I think, pretty sure it's Jean-Christophe Hérault. I'll correct myself later on if I'm wrong. But Olivier Polge is now in-house nose at Chanel. So obviously he's not allowed to work on other brands anymore. And so this range has kind of become Jean-Christophe Hérault's baby. They are Mugler's attempt to get into the exclusives market, because pretty much every single mainstream brand out there now has an exclusive range, a boutique-only range, a range that is available only at high-end department stores. And Mugler's attempt to get into this market was very, very impressive. Now, I'm just going to pause for 1 second because I've had a technology change, bear with me. I think that what I'm seeing on the monitor in front of me isn't exactly the same as what you're seeing, and I'm just going to try to, if you could just leave a comment, if you're watching, if you don't mind leaving a comment to tell me that the picture is clear enough and that everything is framed properly. I'm going to try and see if I can see on my iPad. Okay, according to what I can see on my iPad, you are seeing things correctly, but what you're seeing is not what I'm seeing on the monitor, which is going to make life a little bit confusing, but never mind, I'm sure we'll live with it. As long as you can see things correctly, that's fine. So, as I was saying, I have so far been very, very impressed with Mugler's Exceptions range. I have my two favourites, the Oriental one called Oriental Express and the leather called Cuir Impertinent. But what's interesting about them is that, Ross Ashton Gray says, can see you fine. Thank you very much, Ross, appreciate it. What's interesting about these Mugler exclusives is that they don't do what we associate with Mugler's main range, which is that they're not very weird, they're not very out there. They're interesting and they're extremely well made and they're clever, but they're not strange. So there's nothing in them like Alien, there's nothing in them like Womanity, certainly, which has been discontinued now. We mustn't forget that even Angel, when it came out, was really quite pioneering, was really quite bold in its size. These ones, it's almost as though Mugler have sort of said or thought, we do the weird stuff in the mainstream range, so we can be a little bit more, maybe classy is the right word in this range. Great packaging. Good old Mugler bondage style accessories. And then you open up the box and you have the bottle. And what I should have said is that this one is called Wonder Bouquet, which immediately sets up some expectations. Need to make sure I don't get into a mess here. Let me do the usual thing of labelling a blotter, and then we'll get smelling. Which is always very nerve-wracking, because when it's a brand that you like and when it's a range within a brand that you really quite like, and when you can't get the cap of the bottle off, then things become quite nerve-wracking. Okay, here we go. Wonder Bouquet, the latest exclusive from Mugler. Gosh, the cap is... can't even get it back on. Okay, never mind. Right, here we go. Shades of Alien, I think. And that's the first time one of these has made me think of an existing scent in the Mugler range. And why do I say Shades of Alien? Because the jasmine, it's coming across as quite a strident, strong jasmine that's almost on the verge of window cleaner, and I don't mean that in a negative way. As I may have said before, some of the very best perfumes do this kind of teetering thing where they're not safe and they almost go into unpalatable territory, but they manage to stay just on the right side of that dividing line, and that's what makes them interesting. The fact that they're pushing things as far as they can go without going too far. And this does have that strange, almost synthetic quality that means you can't just immediately just put it away and think, oh well, that's a jasmine. I've got it sorted out. I've got it worked out. It makes you come back for more. But so far, and the usual qualification that these are just first impressions, and we mustn't ever completely judge a perfume on first impression. So far, it's not as though I'm getting a huge amount of depth here. The jasmine is quite clean. It doesn't seem to have a lot of that sort of mothball quality that we associate from the indoles in jasmine. It's kind of almost heading into the territory of J'adore from Dior, which is also very, very clean floral jasmine. Grand Bal from Dior's exclusive range. They've freshened it up at the top, maybe with something that could be gingery, something fizzing. But there's not much mystery here. And you always want a little bit of mystery from a perfume. Right, at this point, what I do is that I turn to the press release from the brand to see what they have had to say. So, let's have a look. These can sometimes be quite amusing, as regular viewers will know. Introducing the 9th creation from Les Exceptions, Wonder Bouquet. The collection's 9th creation unveils a medley of white flowers wrapped in unexpected gustatory notes that are singular in perfumery. Always dangerous saying that something is singular when it actually isn't. Anyway, let's find out. A floral brioche scent with a palette of contrasting white flowers, classically inspired. Yeah, I'm not getting a huge amount of contrasts, actually. Through his fragrances and countless artistic creations in fashion and photography, as well as for shows, Thierry Mugler has always emphasized the beauty of human beings and paid tribute to their multiple facets. With its luminous floral bouquet, I will give it luminous, it has got that light-filled quality so far. Wonder Bouquet highlights the white flower and its different nuances through 3 emblems. Okay, here we go. The fresh and candid lily of the valley note incarnates youth and innocence. I like the idea of a candid lily of the valley. Yeah, possibly, but you don't smell this and think lily of the valley. Overdosed in the creation, the orange blossom absolute, traditionally associated with marriage, okay, embodies the age of reason. Ooh, lots of comments there about whether marriage and reason go together. Never mind. And finally, the opulent and thus more emotionally intoxicating. Hang on, let's try that again. The opulent and thus more emotionally intoxicating. Emotionally intoxicating, okay. Sambac Jasmine Absolute with its animalistic hints accents sensuality as the essence of a woman. Does that sentence work? I don't know. And there is an exclamation mark at the end of it. Cloaked in a deliciously addictive gustatory veil that takes you by surprise. Combined with an addictive brioche accord, as in the bread, I guess. Okay. I did not think bread brioche. There's not much sweetness here for it to be Like a brioche. Anyway, brioche called this floral elixir is wrapped in an unusual and surprising cereal sheath. Try saying that quickly. Surprising cereal sheath. The Bran Absolute. Its irresistible warm bread effect triggers a mild yet insatiable addiction. Mild yet insatiable addiction. Always the best kind. Warm bread. Sorry. Wonder Bouquet, a bouquet of 1,000 petals in a surprising gustatory veil. If they say gustatory, one more time on this. Anyway, here's a quote from the perfumer Jean-Christophe Hérault. Okay, so I was right. The offbeat bakery dimension over a classical floral structure comes as a surprise. Yeah, especially when you don't get much of it. More than an unexpected guest, Bran, with its warm bread accents, is very important to the construction of the fragrance. To be fair to this construction, let us say that maybe this is something that emerges only on skin, and we mustn't discount the importance of trying a perfume on skin. Just a little bit more to go. Like every Les Exceptions creation, Wonder Bouquet is attired in a unique, pure and luxuriously simple bottle. Okay, yeah, fine. With its subtle faceted design decorated with a metal stirrup clip. The Art Deco-inspired object showcases the distinctive architectural elegance that is the house of Mugler. Fine. I always like giving this brand the benefit of the doubt, even though I'm not a huge fan of their latest mainstream release, Aura. I did try it again and again and again to make sure that what I thought about it, make sure that I was happy with what I thought about it, in the sense that I wasn't going to change my opinion, so that I could be confident in the opinion that I was going to put forward on the blog. So I would give this another go, and I'd be interested in smelling it on somebody else's skin. But certainly on paper it isn't as startling as some of the other ones. Oriental Express was really, really surprising. Cuir Impertinent, Fougère Furieuse was really interesting. This seems to be playing things a little bit safer. And of course Hot Cologne, the other one, which I think I did a 60 seconds review of on YouTube, which took the traditional cologne structure but topped it with coffee. That was really interesting. I've actually worn that quite a lot this year. This one is playing it safer, and it keeps making me think of Alien, but it's nowhere near as out there as Alien. So yeah, interesting. Okay, so now that we have done one perfume, I ought to say hello to all of you, and thank you very much for joining me on episode 9 of Love at First Scent. Regular viewers will know that what this series is about is exactly what I've done here. Taking a perfume that I've never smelt before and giving you an initial impression, an immediate reaction. Because usually what I do on my Persolaise blog is publish reviews that have been very carefully considered, very carefully thought out, and sometimes it's just interesting to turn that on its head and give you something a little bit more immediate. If you are watching live right now on Facebook, thank you very much for tuning in, and if you like what you're seeing, please consider giving me the thumbs up and the hearts, etc., because they are very much appreciated. And please do leave a comment, ask a question, even if you want to go off on a tangent and ask me a question about something else. The interaction is what's made the last few episodes of this series really special. After this broadcast is complete, it will stay on Facebook Live, so if you want to leave me a comment at the end of the broadcast, I will try to answer it as well. And then also at some point the video will go up on YouTube, so if you're watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving me a thumbs up and leaving a comment. And somebody has just said hello from Istanbul. Oh, I bet it's warmer in Istanbul than it is here. The weather has become very, very cold in Britain. And what I'm also conscious of is that this is the first time that I've been doing this video, I think, in the dark. Right here on my left, I've got a window, and it is almost night here in the south of England, so I'm hoping that the lights I've got set up in front of me are sufficient. But if it's a little bit dark, then we can say it's all creating a kind of intimate atmosphere. And look at the festive touch. Do you appreciate the festive touch? So leave comments, etc., and give me thumbs up and hearts, because I need them. Right, I think we should move on. I will give a quick mention to this, a candle. just because this is the time of year when sales of home scents go up, because people like buying them as Christmas gifts. This is from a brand called Urban Apothecary, and as you can see, this particular candle is called Smoked Leather. And just a quick mention of it, I've been very, very impressed with it so far. I mean, I'm not a packaging person anyway, but this certainly is an attractive object to be burning on a table. And I like this one because it's really very much like Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather in candle form, and that is a compliment. It's not a clone, so I don't want to sort of say that Urban Apothecary basically took the Tuscan Leather formula or asked a perfumer to copy it, but it is definitely that kind of leather with a very sort of strange fruity note at the top, a tangy, rasping fruity note, which makes the leather intriguing. What makes it different from Tuscan Leather, I think, is that there is a greater emphasis on that weird fruitiness at the top. I've burnt it a few times. Personally, I wish the scent had a little bit more throw, a little bit more projection. I think if you're buying a leather candle, you want that leather smell to fill the room. But then maybe they decided that actually what they wanted to make was a subtle leather scent. Fair enough. Joe, thanks very much for tuning in, one of our regular viewers. I'm eyeing that Serge Lutens. Which one is it? It's the one I'm doing next. I promise I'm going to move on to it right now. So, quick mention of this candle I thought you would appreciate. I'd be interested to know what some of your favourite home scents are. And Joe says, hi Persolaise, good to see you live again. Thank you very much. It's good to get a comment from you, and it's nice to be able to do this again after a hectic month. November is always quite hectic for me for reasons related to other stuff that I do, not connected with perfume at all. Let us turn to Uncle Serge, the latest from Serge Lutens. This has been out for a while, but I received my sample today, just in time for this. It is called, Maria says, hi Persolaise. Yasu Maria, how are you? This is Dent De Lait, which I think translates as milk teeth or baby teeth. It is the first release to have come out only in the new Serge Lutens packaging. You may be aware that Lutens have gone through a rebrand, and a lot of their perfumes are being reissued in this new packaging. Some of their perfumes are now going to be Paris only. Some of the ones that were Paris only are going to be in the mainstream range. These bottles are larger than the other ones used to be, and so guess what? The price point has gone up. But this is not one of the shockingly expensive Serge Lutens perfumes that are high-end department store exclusives, you know, the ones that in the UK at least retail at about £500, £450. This is sort of from the standard collection, but I believe even these are now well over the £100 mark. In fact, they may be around £140. I could find out later and leave a little comment at the bottom of this video. So, new packaging, but we still have the... It's interesting that this brand keeps doing this. If you're not already aware, and I'm sure most of you are, when you buy a Lutens perfume, you get it as a splash, but there's always your little atomizer thing that comes with it, which you are then meant to put into the bottle if indeed that is how you want to use it. I suppose it's fine that people have the option. I have never not put the atomizer in, and I don't know anybody who hasn't. So pardon me while we just go through the Lutens ritual. It is a bit of a ritual. You'll see that the bottle is very similar, if not identical in shape, to the older one, except it's larger. The name takes up more space on the label. My feeling is that I think the older presentation on the label was more elegant, but this is kind of screaming, notice me. And maybe because the market is that much more crowded now, the creative people at the brand decided that the packaging did need to say notice me a lot more loudly. Now, any Serge Lutens fans out there? Oh, we've got a comment. The 50ml bottle looks more aesthetically pleasing to me. Whoever uses Serge Lutens as a splash is not sane. Those juices, and I can't see the rest of the comment. That's annoying. Did Did you leave any more than that, or are you still typing, Joe? Because I can't see what else you've written if you haven't indeed written anything else. But yes, I completely agree with you that the smaller bottles, but elegant is the word that comes to mind. And I'm sure this label hasn't even been stuck on centrally. Or is that just me being wonky with the eyesight? As I was saying, are there any Lutens fans out there? Because if you are a Lutens fan, you will know that in his last few releases, for the last 3 or 4 years actually, oh yeah, Joe says, Lutens are very potent, no joke. Well, funny you should say that, because what I was just about to say, Joe, is that for the last 3-4 years or so, he really does seem to have toned things down. I'm thinking of releases like L'Orpheline, La Religieuse, the ones which very overtly seem to be taking their kind of conceptual inspiration from his childhood, or maybe from childhood in a more general sense, maybe not necessarily his own childhood, and they have been much, much quieter scents. The last one we had for the main range, Baptême du Feu, or is it Baptême de Feu? Well, French grammar, I think it's du Feu. Baptism of Fire. Even though that one had a kind of fizzing, angry, gingery exterior, in essence it was a quiet scent. Maria says that you smelt this yesterday. Oh, don't tell me anything about it. Smelt it yesterday at the BSP fragrance evening and actually liked it. Okay, great. Bodes well. The ad was SL style. Weird that is, but the scent is quite beautiful. Oh, I haven't seen the advert. And I don't even have an official press release. Now, I'm so disappointed to not be able to read a Serge Lutens press release here on Facebook Live, because they are the most bonkers and yet somehow the most compelling press releases I've ever come across. I do believe they are written by Lutens himself, and they are these strange, elliptical, not quite stories with images that don't really meld into each other. So, Maria, try and give us a kind of 2-line description of the advert, and then perhaps we can go and find it on YouTube. So, quieter aesthetics, names which overtly reference childhood or juvenile qualities, and now we have one called baby teeth or milk teeth. Joe says L'Orpheline and Religieuse happen to be some of the SLs I don't own. Check them out. But I do like the clean white incense. Do you mean the O's? Do you mean like well, one is called L'Eau, isn't it? And L'Eau Froide and L'Inde de Verre, those sorts of things, which I do quite like as well. By the way, this is really annoying. If your comment was actually longer, Joe, I'm sorry, but I didn't see it. This is because of this hardware change. Somebody says, right, can I poke my finger at you and actually see what that comment was? Okay, Alain says, good day, Persolaise. Tried Dent De Lait and Vetiver Oriental a week ago. The Vetiver is a classic one. And Joe writes L'Orpheline. L'Orpheline what? I hope this isn't the technology being annoying. Right, we need to smell this one, people. So the smell of baby teeth. Maria says you must find the clip on YouTube. The ad is about children losing their baby teeth. Because you really want to make a perfume about that, don't you? Strings tied to teeth and being pulled out. Oh, perhaps I did see this a little while ago. And Serge actually talks about the loss of... Right, I'm going to have to click on this, aren't I? The loss of... No, I can't see the rest of the comment, which is just pointless, Facebook. What is the point of getting people to leave comments when you can't even see the whole comment? So, Maria, I got as far as Serge actually talks about the loss of the loss of innocence. Okay, thanks. And Joe says, I guess I have to keep my comments shorter. This is irritating. We need to write to Mark Zuckerberg. I wonder if I can see the comments on my iPad. I wonder if they'd come out. Are you still with me? Are you bearing with me here? Let's see if that works. I wonder if the iPad will show more comments. Okay, I'll try and keep it here, and then if I'm looking down here, newsreader style, then you'll know you're looking at my iPad. Or keep the comments short. So annoying. Let's try the perfume. I hope no teeth will be harmed in the sniffing of this scent. Here we go. How are we doing for time, actually? Right. New one from Lutens, always exciting. Also made by Christopher Sheldrake, that much I do know, who's made, well, almost all of them, anyway. Ooh, what I'm getting is Johnson's baby shampoo. So the childhood reference, yeah, spot on. Gosh, that's super, 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 super soft. Actually, you would really want a baby to smell of this. Joe says, smells like a dentist clinic. I guess no, not at all. Smells like... No, not at all. There's nothing clinical or threatening or medicinal about it at all. Ah, this is fascinating. This is like idyllic childhood. It's soft around the edges. Not velvety, but sort of cotton wool soft. Angeline says, I love the description of milkiness, but really dislike the name. We have progress, people. I can see Angeline's comment in full on my iPad. Really dislike the name. I think I'm with you, Angeline, on the name, but it's kind of memorable. I mean, personally, I always think whenever you come up with the name of a perfume, you should bear in mind that people are going to say, oh, what are you wearing? And then the answer shouldn't be embarrassing or silly or stupid or corny. That's why I think one of the best perfume names is from État Libre d'Orange, the name Rien, which obviously in French means nothing. So, you know, what are you wearing? Oh, nothing. And it's a fantastic name for that perfume, because that perfume actually should be called everything, because it is crammed full of some of the most heavy-hitting ingredients in perfumery. So, fantastic name. What are you wearing? Baby teeth? Maybe not so much. But then, you know, it would be very, very difficult to find some kind of a name that evokes childhood. I mean, you know, what are you wearing? Baby essence might start, you know, making people look at you strangely as well. So no, I probably what would happen if somebody said, what are you wearing? You kind of go, oh, something by Lutens, I can't remember the name. I think something about milk. But what have we got? Yeah, milkiness is right. There is very definitely a milky quality here. There is very definitely a white quality. It's a sweet milk. You know where we're going with this. Childhood, milk, sweet milk. Some more comments. Alain says, Dent De Lait reminded me a little of the Almondy Powdery L'Eau d'Hiver from Frédéric Malle, Jean-Claude Ellena. Yes, absolutely. Except L'Eau d'Hiver, which is beautiful, one of my favourite perfumes from Frédéric Malle. L'Eau d'Hiver has a more obvious floral note, taking its inspiration directly from Après l'Ondée. But its floral quality is almond-like because it's heliotrope. And so this is where the almond connection comes in here, because I think there is a kind of almond milk feel here. Joe says, on that note, which État Libre is that? Sorry, I missed it. Oh, it's called Rien, the French word for nothing. R-I-E-N, their best perfume, I think. Oh, hang on, do you mean which État Libre is this? Is that what you meant? Because if it is, I'll explain that in a sec. Maria says, if you wait a moment, a metallic note appears. Okay, cool, let's wait. How long do I wait, Maria? Sorry, just kidding. But you've put the idea in my head, so doesn't milk sometimes just have a kind of metallic tang? But of course the metallic quality takes you to the idea of blood, which is inextricably linked with childhood. This is Uncle Serge wanting to go back to mummy, isn't he? This is him wanting to revert to his childlike cocoon so he can just... Yeah. Mother's milk, people. Mother's milk. Oh, okay, Joe, you did mean this one. I'll come back to that in a sec, because I've only put it there to be able to mention that I've reviewed it on the blog, but I'll come back to that in a second. Hang on, I need to scroll through some of these comments. Angeline says, Maria, I was about to ask about metallic notes too. Great. It's the blood from the teeth falling out. Yeah, possibly. So there you go. The story works. But you know, it's gentle. It's gentle without being stupid or silly. I sometimes feel as though I'm a bit of an apologist for this brand because I do genuinely like it. And I have sometimes asked myself when I've written fairly positive reviews of some of their recent releases, I've sort of thought to myself, would I be quite so positive if, for instance, this had come in a bottle from, I don't know, Dolce & Gabbana or Versace or, you know, YSL even. And the only honest answer I can give is I don't know. I would hope that I would be objective enough to be able to smell something and accept it on its own merits. But having said that, I do think at some level it's also important to consider a perfume in relation to the story and the concept that it is attempting to put forward. So, you know, if you were to smell something, say, from Versace or Dolce & Gabbana that, you know, is calling itself Royal Vetiver or something like that, and actually there doesn't seem to be a scrap of vetiver in it, then you would have every right to be annoyed. This is calling itself Baby Teeth, and yes, even though it is in some ways a very simple, gentle, unobtrusive scent, that's kind of okay because maybe that is precisely what it's trying to be. There's definitely a lot of musks in there as well. Almost detergent musk style. You know, it is the smell of clean clothes that have just come out of the washing machine. So I would say if that was the idea, then it succeeded. But this is not the Serge Lutens of Ambre Sultan. It's not the Serge Lutens of Tubereuse Criminelle. Musk Kublai Khan, those days seem to have passed for this particular brand. Those sorts of codes, those sorts of aesthetics are being explored in that super exclusive range, which is about £450-500 a bottle, which not very many people have tried, because I think as soon as you look at something with a price tag like that, you just think, well, it ain't going to happen. And actually, even when I have smelt them in the shops, there's nothing in that range that has made me think I would, you know, consider remortgaging my house to be able to buy one of them. A lot of them actually seem like somewhat substandard versions of the ones from the main range. But this is promising. This is promising, and there's that sweet quality to it. Now, I don't have a press release for this, unfortunately. All I've got is just a printout from the net, and it just says, the fragrance features milk, metallic notes, incense, heliotrope and almond. Now that's interesting, because that goes back to Alain's comment when he said that it's like L'Eau d'Hiver, and I said it's got heliotrope and this doesn't, so maybe there is some heliotrope in there. So perhaps we can trace it all the way back to Après Landais from Guerlain. But interesting nonetheless. Let's see how that Mugler is doing. It just keeps making me think of Alien, that Wonder Bouquet. Right, so 2 down. Let's see what else we can do. I'm going to take like a sort of 2-minute interlude now to just chat about a few other things. And feel free at this point to send me some questions. I'm just going to again consult the iPad to see how we're doing for time. I have no idea where the time goes. It's already 25 to 5 here in the UK. I don't know how quickly... It's because I'm enjoying myself so much. But 2-minute interlude. While you're giving me thumbs up and hearts and leaving questions and comments, please do leave the hearts and thumbs up, etc., etc. Few things to tell you about. Yesterday, I tried for the very first time the 5 debut perfumes from a brand new brand. I haven't got them here because samples aren't available yet, but you want to remember the name of this brand. It's called St. Giles. In the UK, their 5 perfumes are going to be exclusive to Selfridges. I believe that may be a worldwide exclusive, but don't quote me on that because I could be wrong. All 5 perfumes have been made by Bertrand Duchaufour. It's a brand that's been set up by a chap with a lot of experience of the perfume world called Michael Donovan. I tried only one on skin, but just as a collection, I was really impressed with them, and I cannot wait to receive samples so I can wear them on skin. Each one is inspired by a different character type. So there's one called the actress, there's one called the writer, there's the tycoon, there's the stylist, and then there's the mechanic, which is meant to be the kind of butch, sexy one. But like I said, you want to remember that name. If I manage to get my hands on a bottle, I would very much like to share them with you or review them on the blog, because they were exciting. I thought, okay, this is a brand to be aware of. So remember, St. Giles, 5 debut scents available very, very soon. To go back to Joe's question, this is the new one from État Libre d'Orange. It's called Une Amourette, and it's a collaboration with Roland Mouret, the fashion designer. And I put it on here just to remind me to give my blog a bit of a plug, because I reviewed this in prose. You know, I did a written review on Persolaise.com, so please do check it out. Go to Persolaise.com. It won't be many posts down, because I think I only put the post up maybe 2 weeks ago. But you want to check this one out. It's by Daniela Andrier. Really, really good perfume, one of the best that we've had from État Libre Orange for a while. A very good year for them as well, because they also gave us You or Someone Like You, the collaboration with Chandler Burr earlier this year. Completely different from this, but equally good. I wore that one quite a lot this year. A few other bits and pieces to tell you. I don't know how many of you are aware of this publication called Nez, which is the French word, obviously, for nose. Gorgeously produced magazine. This is issue number 4, which is either out already or coming out very, very soon. And this is only the second one that's been translated into English. This is the English version. I mention it partly because I think you ought to check it out. There are some very interesting looking articles in here, and also partly because there is an article here by me. It's an interview with Christopher Chong of Amouage, the one and only Christopher Chong, and it's about him and his involvement with Amouage, but it's also about the brand as a whole. What headline have they given it? Maintaining Magic and Fantasy at Amouage. So do try to check out Nez. And while we're on the subject of publications, the latest issue of Andy Towers magazine is out. This is not it, by the way. I haven't got the latest issue, but I want to show you this one. David says, hi from Berlin, just got home now. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Make yourself a coffee, grab a biscuit, say hello, leave a question or a comment. What's the weather like in Berlin? I'm guessing it's probably even colder than here. Although I don't know, it doesn't feel as though anywhere could be colder than this. This is issue number 3 of Andy Towers magazine. He is, I think, now taking orders for issue number 4. And I am very, very honoured to be able to say that issue number 4 also contains an article by me. So did number 3, except I can't find it now. No, here we go. In number 3, I wrote about perfume adverts, and in the latest one, I have completely forgotten what I wrote about. Oh no, I wrote about artistic sustainability, because this business of sustainability in perfume is a hot topic, so I thought I'd write about artistic sustainability. And final plug, some of you will have noticed that we have a DVD here today, and we don't normally have DVDs on this table. This is a DVD of one of my favourite films of all time, Martin Scorsese's adaptation of The Age of Innocence, the novel by Edith Wharton. David says it's too cold here. Yeah, I know, and I'm actually feeling cold now because I kind of want to look half decent for this video, so I thought I'll wear a nice shirt, but actually what I need to be doing is wearing a jumper and a scarf and gloves, because it is freezing in this room because I didn't put the heating on in time, so if I start, my teeth start chattering. But why is The Age of Innocence here? The Age of Innocence is here because I have started writing about the idea of watching a film in essence through your nose, thinking about what a film might smell like, what some of the characters might smell like, what some of the situations might smell like. And I've posted a few what I call cinema scent reviews on my blog, but I've also appeared twice so far on BBC Radio 4's film programme presented by Francine Stock, actually talking about this concept of smell in films. And the latest broadcast was yesterday, and it was on The Age of Innocence. So if you go to my blog, you will find a link to it, or you could just Google a BBC Radio 4 film programme and you'll be able to listen to it again. There's a podcast version. It's been a really, really interesting and gratifying thing to do, because I think a lot of people out there haven't thought about the fact that it might be possible to think of film in terms of a smell dimension. Durissimo is here because Lily of the Valley is important in The Age of Innocence, although we didn't get to talk about that on the radio, or at least the bit where I did talk about Lily of the Valley didn't make the final cut, but never mind, we talked about flowers nonetheless. So please do try to tune into that if you can. I've missed a couple of comments, so just let me go back to that. Gosh, it's all happening here. My iPad battery is down to 5%, which is brilliant. Comments. Let's see. Recent comments. Why is this not being cooperative? Right. David Coe says, I'm so happy to finally catch you live. I live in Paris. Fantastic. What's it like there? Probably colder than here. Thank you so much for tuning in, David. I'll be sure to visit the État Libre shop in the Marais and try the new one. Tell them Persolaise sent you. The brand founder, Etienne Desfart, is often there upstairs. Ask to say hello to him and tell him that Persolaise sent you. Maria says, are you going to the Ney events next week? They're not next week, are they? Aren't they the following week? I thought they were sort of on the 13th and the 14th. You probably mean that. I absolutely would love to, but at this stage, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. But yes, I would love to be able to. And Angeline says, love Ney, the magazine, just received mine yesterday. I hadn't even realised you did the Christopher Chong profile. That's because it says by Persolaise in tiny, tiny, tiny letters. But everything is so well written, one of the best magazines ever. Yeah, I'd agree. I think the people who put that magazine together are very, very talented. Oh, here we go. The man from Ney himself is watching. Bonsoir, Dominique. Thank you very much for joining us. And he says, yes, you're right. It's the 13th and the 14th. Thank you very much for correcting us, sir. And thank you for giving us such a beautiful magazine. But technology is just completely confusing me now, because I can see on this screen Maria saying, sorry, yes, the 13th, but it hasn't come up on this screen. I think Apple is just messing with my head. Bonsoir, Dominique. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to fire any questions or anything like that. I have a question for you. I want to know why we have a cannabis scratch and sniff card in the latest edition of Ney. What have you been up to, sir? Anyway, I think we should smell some more perfume. Yesterday, I was very fortunate to go up to London for the launch of the new counter in Selfridges for this brand that some of you may be aware of. Very long-winded name. Most people there were just calling it Buly, but I think its full name is Officine Universelle Buly. What's that? Watching you while waiting for the Shabe Jalda at museum. I don't know what that is, but anyway, enjoy the museum. Yes, Joe, this is Buly, and they've just opened a counter at Selfridges. Beautiful old world style counter with lots of wood, lots of marble, and cabinets that don't quite meet in the middle. Makes you think that maybe the carpenter didn't measure properly, but actually I'm sure it's meant to be like that. And I didn't know very much about this brand. It's one of these brands that has been revived by somebody from now. The label here says that it was established in 1803, and it isn't a con. There really was a brand that had boutiques, I think, all over France. Apparently their last boutique was actually hanging around in Paris until the 50s, and there are still plenty of people in France who remember its best-selling product, which was a cleansing body lotion. So you could, correct me if I may be wrong on this, but I think the idea was that you could clean your whole body with a body lotion, and you didn't use water, unless I'm mistaken. But they are now back in this form, in a very kind of old world form. And they do have perfumes. I think there are 12 perfumes. And as Joe has just very helpfully pointed out, yes, they are all water-based. Yes, you're right, Joe. The idea is that there is no alcohol, which makes it a little bit hard to try them on skin. David Coe says they also make matches to light after using the toilet. Yes, they do. And I was having the concept explained to me last night again by one of the people who's revived the brand. I'm not sure how convinced I am by those candles, but never mind, some people seem to like them. This bottle here is of the Rose de Damas, so Damas Rose. This one I will have to try on skin. Now let's see if this will work. Let's see how good the camera is. Even though they're water-based, they're not perfectly clear. So can you see how that's created a sort of milky film? And what that sort of invites you to do is rub it into your skin like a body lotion, even though it doesn't feel like a body lotion at all. It is completely light and water based. So there must be something in there giving it that milky quality. Although I also know that some perfume ingredients just go cloudy in water. And this is exactly what you would want it to be. A really, really beautiful, well judged, opulent, unfurling rose, the kind of rose that David says this is actually because it's water-based. But there you go. Yeah, I thought it might be, because like I said, some materials do make water go cloudy. I think sandalwood is one of them, but then David, you would know more about that than I do because of the work that you do. What was I saying? That it could be one of the roses that, you know, unfurls on the screen in the title sequence of The Age of Innocence. Joe says Buly's candles look divine with a granite base and a glass dome. Yes, they do. But everything from this brand is so expensive, shockingly expensive. I've got their, I mean, that's how everything seems to be going. I've got their catalogue. The catalogue in itself is a work of art. It's got the most beautiful sketches of some of their ingredients, because they do a whole range as well of essential oils. Gorgeous, gorgeous line illustrations. But, for instance, these perfumes, if I were to find the page on the perfumes, bear with me. So here we go. Damask rose, a bunch of roses boosted with ginger and vetiver. Ginger is the running theme today, isn't it? Thousands of red and pink petals thrown into Astarte's bath, blanketing the sandalwood floors of temples, strewn across the beds of queens. Their triumph exudes the sweet opulence of the rose and the vetiver, the maiden's ginger fiery kisses raining down upon the victors from the balconies. Yes. But what I was hoping to find is a price. There you go. So these are 75 mils. And they're £156. It's like everything is going insane with prices. By the way, somebody just gave me a thumbs up, which reminded me, please do carry on giving me the thumbs up, because they are very, very welcome. And some of, it is a beautiful rose. It is a gorgeous rose. And when I came home from London last night, I sprayed some on my wife's hand because I wanted to smell it on somebody else. And it was really, really gorgeous on her, without being operatic, without being grandiloquent. So, you know, it's not like Guerlain's Nehema. It's not that kind of, I will clutch you in my embrace and I will never let you go sort of rose. It is a sort of bath rose. It is petals on the floor, as the description says. But gosh, is it expensive. And some of the other things here, I mean, they do a huge range of hair combs. Combs of different sizes with teeth of different lengths and different size gaps between them. But some of the combs, here you go. I mean, this is a beautiful illustration of combs. If you ever wanted, you know, illustrations of combs with which to decorate your house. But some of their handmade Japanese Minebari combs are £624. I think I'd rather lose my hair. The distinctive wooden combs that detangle and hydrate the hair are an invitation to travel. Hello, comb. Where would you like to go today? Sourced from Nagano province in northern Japan, the wood of Alnus firma, with its very fine grain and its remarkable hardness and sturdiness, makes it possible to craft wooden pieces of great strength and renown. You'd hope they were of great strength. Imagine spending £624 on a comb and then it breaks on you. They do toothbrushes made of silk or badger hair. You'll never read The Wind in the Willows in the same way again, will you? And those toothbrushes are £44. Or you can have small nail clippers, line drawing of nail clippers, for £249. Dominique says, don't say that, I've lost mine, talking about your hair. Actually, yes, you're right, I shouldn't say that. I will now go out and buy a comb for £624 because I prefer not to lose my hair. I guess actually you're right. No, I don't know what I'm saying. I'd much rather spend £600 than lose my hair. Joe says, I feel poor already. I know. I mean, it's like, wow. Looking and smelling good is an expensive business. But still, the rose perfume is beautiful. The vetiver is coming through now, but not in that kind of sweaty vetiver way. There is a kind of fruity facet to the rose, maybe something a little bit peachy, maybe something apricotty. But it's just the kind of smell for which the word gorgeous was invented. It is really, really sigh-inducing. You know, if you sort of caught this on the wind, you would just take a deep breath and sigh, and suddenly the world would seem like a better place. I ought to see how we're doing for time, because I really don't want to take up more of your time. I feel I've been rabbiting on for ages. Gosh, it's 10 to 5. I think we should do... Okay, I won't do a perfume because we haven't got time for a full perfume. We've only done 3. That feels really, really bad. It's probably because I haven't done one of these for a while. So I will finish by mentioning, again, something different. Because we've talked about candles, we've talked about magazines, we've talked about hairbrushes and toothbrushes today, I think we should finish with tea. Easily my favourite tea brand, Mariage Freres. They have done a tea. David says one more. Which one should I do? Well, let me quickly talk about the tea. I know what I'll do. I'll do a I'll do a 1-minute one at the very end, but let me quickly talk about the tea since I've picked it up. They have done... Oh, this stuff smells so good. I won't tip it over because you can just about see it there. They have done a new green tea called Thé Vert Precieux, so I guess that just means precious green tea. Daniel says expensive teas, yeah, but these are worth it. These are worth it. And they have come up with this tea because it is the 25th anniversary of... Who's going to have a guess? It's the 25th anniversary of Bulgari's Eau Parfumée au Thé Vert, or the green tea scent. It says here in this press release, in 1992, master perfumer Jean-Claude Ellena took his inspiration from the heart of the historic outlet of the famous tea house Mariage Freres. Now, there are various versions of that story. Some people say that story was sort of retro-engineered after Ellena has made his perfume because the people in marketing departments thought, oh gosh, that's a really good story. Let's say Jean-Claude Ellena went to Mariage Freres, but that is the story that is now told. Eau Parfumée au Thé Vert resulted from this impulse, an iconic eau de cologne, and yes, it has become a classic. Some people call it posh CK1, and I think that's actually quite a good description, and it's not a criticism at all. It is kind of like a more sophisticated CK1, symbolising the arrival of Bulgari in the world of fragrances. At the heart of the fragrance was a revolutionary idea, that of transposing the spirit of tea in a perfume. A unique signature, an innovative olfactory concept, exalting the aroma and character of green tea. Its out-of-the-box freshness has stood out as a masculine and feminine olfactory signature for almost 25 years. Certainly, it was a huge hit and has spawned many flankers, almost all of which are great. They even did an oud flanker, believe it or not, which is thé noir, black tea, and I think it's wonderful. It's one of the most original oud perfumes out there. I think they've done such a good job with that one. Anyway, there is a lot more here. I won't read it all, but I will read a little bit about the tea. So, precious green tea reveals a rich and velvety crystal clear liqueur that exudes a subtle and fresh fragrance. The first inhalation of deliciously fruity citrus aromas instantly transports us to the refreshing heart of Eau Parfumée au Thé Vert. The tea pleasantly envelops the palate, and its natural hallmark aromas offer an exceptionally refreshing effect, tinged with ethereal jasmine and gourmet bergamot. Cardamom, infused with magical notes of tonka bean, provide a long taste in the mouth. That doesn't sound very good, does it? That sparkles with the radiance of citrus flavours, and what it actually contains, apparently, is Japanese shadow tea, which this press release tells us is the most sophisticated of Japanese green teas, and also Chinese yin-zhen tea, which is apparently the best white tea. Now, I like the tea. I don't agree with very much of what's been written on there, because actually what I get from the tea is a very distinctly camphoraceous element. Maybe bergamot, yes, but this almost feels like sinking your nose into eucalyptus leaves, which is absolutely fine. It is a nice green tea to drink, actually. Trouble is, I have no idea how much it costs. I have a feeling it's probably one of this brand's more expensive teas, but have a look. In the UK, you will know that in London they're available at Selfridges, so perhaps you might be able to stop by there and find out how much they are. So really, really sorry to test your patience, but I think I will finish with this one here, just because I've smelt it before and I think it's well worth trying. It's the newish one. It is still new, but newish one from Coudray. I really liked their Ylang Ylang from earlier this year, I think, or maybe late last year. Maria says, must try the new Fortnum's teas. I haven't tried them. This is Rose Tubereuse. So Rose Tubereuse. Joe says, what's the name of the tea brand? Here you go, Joe. It's called, can you see that? It's called Mariage Freres or Mariage Brothers. Okay. Daniel says, what great info. You're very, very welcome. Did you get that, Joe? I'll leave a comment at the end of the video as well so that you know exactly what we're talking about, and I'll write down the names of the magazines and things. But very quickly, because people have lives to live, let us try the Rose Tubereuse from Coudray. What's everybody doing with their Friday evening after this? Yeah, this is the perfumer for this one, is Cécile Zerokian, very, very, very talented perfumer who works as an independent perfumer. She has also just done a really superb tuberose for Evody called, I think, Tubereuse Manifeste. So it's interesting to see what she's done with this tuberose. Completely different. It just shows how one material can be handled in so many different ways by a talented perfumer. The one for Evody is fresh, green, doesn't have that kind of vampish quality that we associate with tuberose. David says he's flying to Zurich in about 2 hours. If you go past Andy Tower's house, say hello. Are you by any chance meeting up with Andy? Or Vero? Say hi to Zurich anyway, great city. This is, the one from Coudray, is darker, more threatening, spicier, actually maybe even less overtly tuberose-like, more floral in a kind of more abstract way, trying to kind of find a marriage between the rose and the tuberose and using woody materials. Oh, David isn't meeting Andy or Vero this time, unfortunately. Never mind, there'll be another time. So, just reading the description of Rose Tubereuse. Oriental floral fragrance for women, a new fragrance. Again, Cécile Zerokian. And the notes are bergamot, tangerine, clove, guava, and rhubarb. Bulgarian rose tuberose, ylang ylang, geranium, jasmine, so name as many flowers as you like. And base notes of patchouli, sandalwood, tonka bean, vanilla, benzoin, and musk. Again, pretty standard base material, so that doesn't really tell us very much. But this is, you know how some vintage perfumes, and this brand always has a kind of vintage inflection, how some vintage perfumes tip over into actually feeling, by today's standards, a little bit rough, a little bit coarse. But that's maybe kind of what we like about that vintage feel. That's what this does. So if you want something that has got some teeth, and what's Daniel saying? Today is Friday Fume Day in El Paso, Texas. You're in Texas, brilliant. Dillard's department store has begun to sell Creed and Joe Malone now. I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm not going to make a Creed or Joe Malone joke. What is that department store? Does that mean that they're like on discount or something? Oh, I get it. Sorry, I'm being thick. Friday Perfume Day in El Paso, Texas. What's that then? What's Friday Perfume Day? And why don't we have that in the UK? And please don't spend money on Creed. I see, I can't resist. I did it. If you like Creed, spend your money on Creed. But don't. No, it's fine. You can spend your money on Creed. But don't. So, if you want a floral that has a kind of evil cat claw vibe to it. I get smiley faces now because I tell people not to buy Creed. Fine. Buy Creed if you want to, people. But don't spend your money on Creed. If you want that kind of rasping, almost like femme fatale floral, then check out the Rose Tubereuse from Coudray. And I think that is plenty from me. Now, the plan is that I will do one more of these before Christmas, so I will try to squeeze one in, and I will try and give you as much notice as possible, perhaps in 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time. So please bear with me while I sort of look at schedules and things. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much for the comments. Thanks for the interaction. Thanks for making me laugh. It's worth its weight in gold, that sort of thing. Thank you for the thumbs up and the hearts, and please keep them coming. As per usual, I will leave a kind of status report in about 4 or 5 hours to tell you how the blotters have been doing, because as I say, we mustn't judge the perfumes just on a first impression. You can leave a comment or a question after this broadcast. I will try to answer it. Dominique says, just because I'm leaving, we chose to have a weed scent because we were in NYC in April and it smelled like weed everywhere, so that's how the idea came to... I will leave my comments to myself on that, or maybe I'll make a kind of public comment when you come over to London for the magazine launch. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, and please leave a comment or question and I will try to answer that as well. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Look after yourselves. Bye.